Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Artificial gravity is a concept primarily used in science fiction, but it has real scientific principles behind it. Since prolonged exposure to microgravity, as experienced in space, leads to health problems like muscle atrophy, bone loss, and cardiovascular deconditioning, researchers have long explored ways to simulate gravity in space environments. Here's a breakdown of the science behind artificial gravity. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel. Why artificial gravity? In microgravity environments, astronauts lose muscle mass and bone density. Body fluids shift toward the head, causing vision problems. The cardiovascular system weakens. Artificial gravity aims to counteract these effects by simulating Earth's gravity. Future applications. Long-duration missions to Mars or beyond may require artificial gravity for astronaut health. Space tourism and long-term habitation will likely incorporate artificial gravity systems. In the silent void of space, where astronauts float weightless, a problem begins to take shape. Without Earth's gravity anchoring their bodies, muscles weaken, bones grow fragile, and fluids drift upward, distorting vision and straining the heart. For decades, space agencies have grappled with these effects, searching for a way to bring gravity, or something like it, into orbit. The answer may lie not in magic or science fiction, but in physics, artificial gravity, a force we can create through clever engineering and a deep understanding of motion. One of the most promising solutions comes from the concept of rotation. Imagine a vast ring spinning in the darkness, like a slow spinning bicycle wheel in space. As it turns, anything inside is pushed outward toward the rim, not by gravity itself, but by centripetal force, a trick of motion that mimics the feeling of weight. This is the science behind the spinning habitats in movies like 2001, A Space Odyssey or Interstellar. The faster the spin or the wider the ring, the stronger the force pushing people against the outer walls, making them feel like they're standing on solid ground. But it's not as simple as just spinning a wheel. Engineers must balance the speed of rotation with the size of the habitat to avoid unwanted side effects, like dizziness or disorientation from the Coriolis effect, which occurs when your inner ear senses changes due to rotation. To make the environment comfortable, large structures are needed, hundreds of meters across, so they can spin slowly enough to simulate Earth's gravity without making occupants sick. This means building massive, durable habitats that can withstand the stresses of space. Other ideas have been considered too, like using a spacecraft's own acceleration to mimic gravity. If a ship could constantly accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared, the same as Earth's gravity, astronauts inside would feel as though they were walking on Earth. But such continuous thrust would require vast amounts of fuel, making it impractical with current technology. For now, artificial gravity remains mostly in the realm of theory and simulation, though space agencies have conducted small-scale experiments using centrifuges to study its effects on the human body. Still, as we look toward longer missions, like traveling to Mars or building space hotels for tourists, the need for artificial gravity grows more urgent. The dream is not just to survive in space, but to thrive, standing upright and walking confidently on the decks of future space stations, not floating helplessly in the dark. Far above Earth, in the quiet orbit where satellites drift and space shuttles glide, a new kind of station was being imagined, one where astronauts didn't float through corridors like ghosts but walked with steady footsteps, their boots thudding softly against the floor. It was the dream of engineers, doctors, and physicists, a place where artificial gravity kept the human body grounded, even among the stars. Back on Earth, Dr. Lena Torres sat at her workstation in Houston, reviewing medical data from the International Space Station. Every chart told the same story: muscle loss, bone thinning, changes in heart function. Even after just 6 months in space, astronauts were returning home weaker than when they left. "We need gravity up there," she muttered, circling the troubling figures. "Or at least something that acts like it." Her team had been studying rotating habitats, structures that spun slowly in space, using motion to mimic the gravitational pull of Earth. The idea wasn't new, it had been proposed as far back as the early 20th century. But now, with advancements in materials and robotics, it was starting to feel real. Imagine a massive ring-shaped station, a kilometer across, spinning gently once every minute. Inside, people would live along the outer walls, held in place by the centrifugal force. It wouldn't be gravity in the traditional sense, but it would feel like it. Lena smiled as she imagined a child running down the curved hallway of such a station, her laughter echoing in the artificial sky. Meanwhile, in a lab across the globe in Tokyo, robotics engineer Kenji Watanabe was building a prototype module with a rotating chamber. It was small, only big enough for a person to sit inside, but it was a step forward. The chamber spun quietly, and inside, a test dummy lay secured, sensors tracking every reaction. The idea was to simulate just enough gravity, maybe a third or half of Earth's pull, to see if it was enough to keep muscles and bones healthy. The dream was not just survival in space, but health, comfort, and even a sense of normal life. But rotation wasn't the only idea. In deep space mission simulations, some scientists explored constant acceleration as a form of gravity. If a ship could accelerate steadily at 9.8 meters per second squared, it would push astronauts against the floor the same way Earth does. Flip the ship halfway through the journey, and deceleration would feel like gravity all the way to Mars. The math worked beautifully, the problem was power. Fueling such a trip remained a massive barrier. Still, hope lingered. Space agencies began to test rotating habitats in low Earth orbit, and private companies started designing space hotels with spinning arms to create artificial gravity for guests. What once seemed like science fiction was inching toward reality. For the first time, humanity was beginning to learn not just how to travel through space, but how to live there. Back in Houston, Dr. Torres stood by the observation window, watching a live feed from space. A supply capsule drifted silently toward the ISS, sunlight glinting off its surface. Someday soon, she thought, that capsule might be heading for a station that spins, where people walk, sleep, and grow food under the gentle tug of artificial gravity. It wouldn't be Earth. But it would feel just a little more like home.